Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he hopes U.S. brokered talks in Geneva next week are substantive, but adds Ukraine is too often asked to make concessions. He accuses Moscow of delaying progress by changing its lead negotiator as U.S., Russian, and Ukrainian delegations prepare to meet in Switzerland. The U.S. Justice Department sends lawmakers a legally required letter outlining redactions in files linked to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The letter lists high-profile names referenced in the records without detailing the context, including individuals who may have had no direct contact with Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell. Britain and European allies say Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny is killed with a poison linked to a dart frog toxin 2 years ago. After his death in Siberian prison, UK Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper says only the Russian government has the means and motive, while Moscow dismisses the claim as an information campaign. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen says she believes President Donald Trump still wants to own Greenland. Despite recently toning down his threats, speaking in Munich, she stresses Greenland is not for sale, as security tensions between Copenhagen and Washington continue. Iranian opposition figure Reza Pahlavi says U.S. military intervention could save lives and urges President Donald Trump not to spend too long negotiating a nuclear deal with Tehran. The exiled son of Iran's former Shah tells Reuters he believes the clerical government is nearing collapse and says an attack could accelerate its fall. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is set to begin a 2-day trip to bolster ties with Slovakia and Hungary today, whose conservative leaders, often at odds with other European Union countries, have warm ties with President Donald Trump. Rubio is to discuss energy cooperation and bilateral issues, including NATO commitments. According to Australian government announcements, Australia will spend $2.76 billion to advance construction of a shipyard to support nuclear-powered submarines under the 2021 AUKUS Defence Pact with the United States and Britain. The agreement is Australia's largest ever defence investment. According to Taiwan Foreign Minister Ling Chia-lung, China is the real threat to regional security and is hypocritically claiming to defend UN principles of peace in response to remarks by Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi at the Munich Security Conference, as Wang Yi warned that some countries are trying to split Taiwan from China. Now we move on to Europe. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is set to begin a 2-day trip to bolster ties with Slovakia and Hungary, whose conservative leaders, often at odds with other European Union countries, have warm ties with President Donald Trump. According to the U.S. State Department, Rubio will use the trip to discuss energy cooperation and bilateral issues, including NATO commitments. Rubio, who in his dual role also serves as Trump's national security advisor, will meet in Bratislava with Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico, who visited Trump in Florida last month. The U.S. diplomat's trip follows his participation in the Munich Security Conference over the last few days. Now we welcome former Ambassador Mahesh Sachdev. He is a former diplomat, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much for joining us. Good to see you. Now, Ambassador, as you know, Rubio starts his trip today. What do you think is priority when he visits Slovakia and Hungary, these two countries in particular, this trip?
I think the priorities are going to be a mixed bag. Firstly, he would like to showcase that the United States has strong friends in the continent and within NATO and European Union. The Western and some of the Central European countries have increasingly had misgivings about United States posture on Greenland, as well as its its negotiating tactics with regard to Ukraine-Russia crisis. They also don't like United States hectoring them, as done last year by Vice President Vance about having too many migrants, Europe losing its way, and European values being eroded, etc., etc. So he would like to shore up by producing some ventriloquists in Bratislava and in Budapest, who would stand by United States in general and Trump administration in particular. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, for sharing that. And you know, as Slovakia and Hungary are seen as more aligned with Russia rather than their European not allies but neighbors, how do you think this Russia's relationship with Slovakia and Hungary will be affecting the upcoming talks with Rubio?
That's a good and interesting question. Thank you. I think left to himself, President Trump also does not regard Mr. Putin as his adversary, as the national security document released in November says so. He has continued to procure uranium from Russia, despite thousands of sanctions on Moscow. So he is not particularly bothered about the two countries, Hungary and Slovakia, maintaining their old links with Moscow, buying gas from Russia, and being in touch with Mr. Putin in particular. He may like to use this visit to make them press Moscow to be more accommodating at the negotiating table. As you know, second round of talks between Moscow and Ukraine, mediated by Washington, is going to be taking place next week in Geneva. So intervention by Hungary and Slovakia with Moscow, he may hope, Mr. Rubio may hope to be able to swing a more flexible Moscow on the border adjustments and ceasefire in Ukraine.
Building on that, as you know, a second round is soon indeed. So, what's the from your analysis? What's the current trust level between these two countries towards U.S. mediation for Ukraine and Russia's war?
Well, Russia remains steadfast in its demands about Ukraine ceding territory in Donbas area, the three provinces that Russia claims to be part of Russia. And Ukraine continues to possess part of western areas of these provinces, and fighting has continued, albeit at a reduced attritional level. Secondly, I think as far as Ukraine is concerned, Ukraine has to depend on Europe as well as United States for good offices, for bolstering its defense forces, for economic sustenance. And that is where the rub lies. This seems to be eroding as far as Washington is concerned. Mr. Trump has been swinging from one side to another side, during the first year of his presidency. He has welcomed Putin for a summit in Alaska, has had difficult summits with Zelensky in White House in February, for example, where Mr. Zelensky was literally thrown out of the building without any ceremony. And later on, the deal was signed to pledge Ukrainian natural resources against the armed aid given already by United States. And United States has demurred about sharing intelligence and so on, alarming Ukrainians who have been at Europe's doorstep. Europeans don't want Zelensky to lose to Russia, and therefore they have upped the ante. As Munich Security Conference earlier this week showed, yes, Mr. Zelensky pleaded for sustaining support and pressing Moscow to adopt a more flexible line over negotiations.
Thank you very much.
And elsewhere.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Sachdev, for sharing that insight. Please stay with us as we come back to you. Now we move on to Nigeria. Gunmen have killed at least 30 people in dawn raids across 3 villages in northwestern Nigeria. The attackers shot or slit the throats of victims, set homes on fire, and abducted several people in Niger State. According to reports, the violence occurred near a site where over 100 people were killed in a similar attack earlier this month. The bandits targeted Tunga-Makeri, Konkoso, and Pissa, leading to an increasing death toll in the area. Authorities fear the toll could rise as reports from nearby villages remain unclear. Now we welcome back Ambassador Mahis Sachdev. He's a former High Commissioner to Nigeria, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for staying with us. Now this unfortunate, very hasty crime, the scene has emerged from Nigeria. What more can you tell us about this, and also the location that this has happened or is happening?
State of Niger lies in the center of west of Nigeria. It's a fertile area and is populated by farmers, mostly growing various cash and cereal crops, as well as some fruit. At the same time, this is an area where grazers from north come down during the summer, which is now setting in, when the water scarcity in the north, Sahel region, makes grazing more difficult and sparse. So they come down with their thousands of herd to central Nigerian area, and that is where the clashes often occur excuse me, during the summer season, when the two sides, the farmers resist the grazers taking over their fields, etc.
Thank you very much.
That's what it seemed to be happening.
Ambassador, are you okay? Great. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for sharing that insight with us and staying with us on NewsX World. Now we move on to Epstein files. The Paris Prosecutor's Office has announced that the formation of a special team of magistrates to scrutinize evidence that may implicate French nationals in crimes committed by convicted child sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. According to reports, the special team was created to be able to extract any piece that could be usefully reused in a new investigative framework will also work closely with police and with prosecutors from the National Financial Crimes Unit. Now for this, we welcome Dr. Satoru Nagao. He's a fellow at Hudson Institute, joins us live from Tokyo. Thank you very much, Dr. Nagao, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, looking at this, how significant would the cooperation be, in Paris, among the prosecutors, and what can we expect from to come out from this cooperation?
Epstein's connection is very global, especially in the Western countries. So that's why not only the United States, but also the British, Norway, now France need to investigate themselves. But the investigate agency is based on the national government, which is each country has its investigation sector, and so globally they need to cooperate to deal with this Epstein crime. And because the huge amount of the cases Epstein has already committed, so that's why the investigation demand very long time, and one by one they're checking and publishing the huge amount of the document and the pictures without identify who is the victim. So that's why the process demand long time, and one by one it has revealing. So one document revealed, another document revealed, and every time this incident is escalating to be big scandal. And that's why it is very important scandal. That's why France also realized this seriousness and formed this team to investigate. So it is expected that this will be the more bigger scandal in the near future, and that is not good, but at the same time, this is we need to deal with, everyone need to deal with, I think.
Yes, thank you for highlighting that. And indeed, the Epstein connection is global. We have seen a lot of French political elites and elites' names come up in the recent released Epstein files, including the former culture minister's close relationship and some more elites. So what did the Epstein files reveal about, the financial links, correspondence, and how are prosecutors assessing whether any laws were violated, in particular to French elites' involvement in this?
Yes, that is also the part of the investigation, because how to identify the human-human connection is indeed very difficult. For example, someone met in the station, is this a human connection? Everyday people met many people. But view from the picture, view from the route they're walking, they are meeting many people, that is true. So that's why one by one they are checking how deep relations they have. Even if the deep relations, did they know the crime and Epstein committed, or they are the perpetrator of the big Epstein's crime. So these are one by one they need to check. But many people are improving, and so that's why identification itself is demanding a long time. That is the current situation. So not only just investigation team in the United States, but also many countries should improve. But if the many countries improve, how to coordinate is a matter, and how to publish is a matter, because how to protect the survivors, victims, that is also the matter.
Yes, indeed. It's very difficult and challenging to prove human-to-human relations, like you mentioned, and also while protecting the victims and their identity is critical. So, what other political pressures could French government face in balancing transparency with victim privacy while pursuing full disclosure of and accountability of Epstein's network and the associates in terms of French associates?
Yes, of course, protecting the victim, the survivors, that is one thing very important. But another thing is this scandal is not just a crime. This is related with secret information of the nations. And in this case, not only the United States, but also British, but also the Norway, but also France. These countries, they have the secret information, but there's a possibility to reveal and sell. That is a very important scandal. So that's why they are. This is a very big issue. So that's why they should act carefully. And so not only protecting the victim survivors, that they should act carefully, that is true, but at the same time, because of the sensitivity of the information they share, that is also the factor the investigating team need to be careful. So there's a possibility someone vital for their country is related to this crime could happen, and at the same time it could be the international problem between the nation versus nation that is also possible to occur.
Yes, and as you rightfully highlighted, that Epstein connection is indeed global. What could be the answers which could remain unanswered if these countries internationally don't cooperate? And France does their own investigation, and then US does their own.
Of course, the unclear area is who involved this crime is indeed unclear. Epstein, of course, but if the Epstein has sensitive information and share with others, that who is that others is a matter. There's a possibility the others has the interest to get this information. So for example, the investigation in Poland focusing on Russia's involvement. In British also, they also focusing on Russia, because Russia and Western countries spy game, for a long time they have fought in many places in the world, especially in Europe. This is a big issue. And but Epstein also used many Russian ladies, and in this case, is this just a survivor victim or something, or there is a possibility the national level support exists, and so this is one kind of the spy game between two, and Epstein's crime is related with this. If this is happening, this is a government versus government problem. So that's why how big the size of the crime has happened itself is a very important issue in this case. So investigators of the US, France, Poland, or British, everyone faced very difficulty because this is very big crime. That is the current situation. But at the same time, without publishing the certain investigation report, this kind of the image itself is baseless. So that's why people can expect it could be the big problem, big scandal. That is true. But at the same time, still, this is under investigation. We should not forget this fact. So that's why we need to wait in this case, because the size of the crime, it could be big, but at the same time, this is still image.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Dr. Nagao, for sharing that timely insight with us on this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Now we move on to our next news. Storm Nils, which lashed southwest France over the past 2 days, has caused severe flooding, leaving vast areas underwater. The Garonne River overflowed, inundating residential areas in Tonnes, while the country remains on high alert. The storm has claimed a second life, and a red alert remains in place for flooding along the Garonne River. France's flood alert system has been working tirelessly, with the nation's alert levels hitting unprecedented numbers. According to Lucie Chardorn-Faken, the head of France's flood alert agency, Vigicruise, The country has been on constant alert for the past month. The record-breaking rains have left the soil saturated, leading to an unprecedented flood response. Now we move on to tech news. Uber is set to expand its delivery business into 7 new European countries this year, including the Czech Republic, Greece, and Romania. The move is expected to generate an additional $1 billion in gross bookings over the next 3 years. The expansion will also include markets like Austria, Denmark, Finland, and Norway. Uber's global head of delivery, Susan Anderson, has stated that the company aims to raise the bar and provide better value across the sector. This expansion comes just after Uber agreed to acquire the delivery arm of Turkish company Getir, expanding its presence in Turkey as well. Now we move on to Asia. Taiwan's Foreign Minister Ling Chia-lung has sharply criticized China's stance on security, accusing Beijing of hypocrisy in its claims to uphold United Nations principles of peace. Lin's remarks come in response to Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi's comments at the Munich Security Conference, where Wang has warned against efforts to split Taiwan from China and accused Japan of stoking tensions over the island. In a statement, Lin has emphasized that Taiwan's sovereignty has never belonged to the People's Republic of China, whether under historical facts, objective reality, or international law. Lin has further rebuked China for its actions, stating that while Wang boasts of adhering to the UN Charter, China's military provocations and violations of UN principles, including the threat of force, exposes its hegemonic behavior. While China's military has regularly staged exercises near Taiwan, with the latest round of mass war games conducted in December, Taiwan, which views itself as a self-governed democracy, rejects China's claims, stating that Taiwan's sovereignty should be determined by its people, not Beijing. Taiwan's position also counters China's argument that the island was returned to Chinese rule at the end of World War II. Now we move on to Mexico. Massive protests have broken out in Zacatecas, City of Mexico, after workers at a silver mine owned by Canada's Vizsla Silver Corp were kidnapped and killed. People from multiple age groups marched holding banners to mourn the victims and speak out against extortion. Authorities found the bodies of 10 victims in Sinaloa and believe that they may have been mistaken for members of a rival gang. According to reports, the protests ended at the municipal palace, where people demanded the government to take sincere action against the violence.
Pues el objetivo es levantar la voz por la paz, por seguridad principalmente.
Ya se vale porque somos gente trabajadora, somos gente honesta, somos gente derecha. Nos falta mucho dinero. Aquí estamos manifestándonos de una manera silenciosa, pacífica y luchando por la justicia de todos.
That's all we have time